Just at noon, a heartbreaking development in the search for missing Maui woman Hannah Kobayashi. The 30-year-old's father was found dead early Sunday morning. Our Dylan Ancheta joins us now with what we know and a warning. This update contains the difficult topic of self-harm. Dylan.
Thank you so much, Ashley. It was a tragic turn of events for the Kobayashi family, who is still seeking any sign of 30-year-old Hannah Kobayashi. The Los Angeles Police Department confirmed that Ryan Kobayashi was found dead in an apparent suicide. They say he died after he reportedly jumped from a parking structure near LAX around 4 a.m. Sunday. In a post online, Sydney Kobayashi, Hannah's sister, said, quote, "You're with the angels now, Dad. I love you and miss you so much. Although my heart is breaking and my world feels shattered, I'm going to continue to stay strong for you. We're going to find Hannah." The statement goes on to say they are grieving and encourages others to stay focused on the search for Hannah. Ryan Kobayashi had flown to LA from Hawaii to help in the search for his daughter. Last week, the family held a rally in downtown LA near the Crypto.com arena, where she was last seen getting off of the metro on November 11th. Their loved ones went over the timeline of events and reiterated that suspicious messages sent from her phone to a friend may have indicated she was in danger. All of this concern growing after she missed her flight to New York City on November 8th. Now, the family has requested privacy at this time, and we will continue following this story. And we'd also like to mention that if you are experiencing suicidal thoughts, free resources are available. You can call or text the number 988 to be connected with a crisis counselor. You can also go to 988lifeline.org. Dylan Ancheta, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Dylan. President-elect Donald Trump's victory at the ballot box on November 5th means he is now getting a victory in the courts as well. Christian Benavides has more details from West Palm Beach, Florida.
The Department of Justice filed a motion Monday to dismiss all 4 felony charges against President-elect Donald Trump for his alleged efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election in the lead-up to the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. Special counsel Jack Smith said in the court filing that the government's position on Trump's guilt has not changed, but Trump's election sets at odds 2 fundamental national interests. He wrote, on the one hand, the Constitution's requirement that the president must not be unduly encumbered in fulfilling his weighty responsibilities, and on the other hand, the nation's commitment to the rule of law and the long-standing principle that no man in this country is so high that he is above the law. Federal Judge Tanya Chutkin is expected to approve the special counsel's request.
The dismissal ends Trump's long and expensive court battle. He's claiming victory and is preparing to overhaul how the Department of Justice works.
In a statement, Trump's spokesman called it a victory for the rule of law and added, President Trump wants an immediate end to the political weaponization of our justice system, and we look forward to uniting our country. Trump has said he intends to nominate former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi to be his AG and tasked her with changing the DOJ. Special counsel Smith is expected to resign before Trump takes office. Christian Benavides, CBS News, West Palm Beach, Florida.
Meanwhile, Mr. Trump is announcing a flurry of picks for top jobs in his administration. Several candidates are facing potential confirmation fights in the Senate. Hallie Jackson has the latest.
The Trump team beginning to turn to a new phase in the transition, possible confirmation fights for the president-elect's top picks, including his choices for Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth and Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, both expected to face tough questions. Gabbard accused of amplifying Russian propaganda.
Well, I think she's compromised. Russian-controlled media called her a Russian asset.
I think it's really interesting that anybody that has a different political view now is being cast as a Russian asset. I think it's insulting. It's a slur, quite frankly.
She's also facing questions over her secret meeting with the Syrian president in 2017.
She met with Bashar Assad. We'll want to know what the purpose was.
Gabbard has rejected accusations she is a mouthpiece for the Syrian regime. Defense Secretary pick Pete Hegseth expected to be questioned over a California police report detailing a woman's sexual assault allegation, which he denies.
The matter was fully investigated, and I was completely cleared.
Officials have not said why Hegseth was not charged, but he paid his accuser a settlement in 2023. Hegseth also in the spotlight for comments that women should not serve in combat roles.
We would have an ineffective military that was not capable of deployment if we were to pull out all the women and say you cannot be in combat.
The policy is set by the President of the United States, not by the cabinet members. I think Pete Hegseth will follow the lead of the Commander-in-Chief.
These latest revelations prompting questions about vetting for Mr. Trump's cabinet picks and apparently skipping the traditional FBI background checks.
Why wouldn't we get these background checks for the most important job in the United States government?
I don't think the American public cares who does the background checks. What the American public cares about is to see the mandate that they voted in delivered upon.
That's Hallie Jackson reporting. Here at home, a 26-year-old has been charged with attempted murder for a shooting in Aiea. Francis Ho turned himself into police on Friday afternoon. He's accused of shooting a 48-year-old man in the leg last Wednesday, critically injuring him. In addition to attempted murder, prosecutors also charged Ho with 2 gun crimes. His bail has been set at $300,000. A 57-year-old man is in serious condition after he was assaulted near Kapi'olani Boulevard. EMS responded to the assault incident at around 10:20 last night, and paramedics took him to a trauma facility. We'll give you any updates as they become available to our newsroom. Meanwhile, HPD is investigating an early morning robbery in the Ala Moana area. It happened near the corner of Kona and Pensacola Streets at around 2 a.m. Saturday. According to police sources, the suspect asked the victim if he had something to drink. As the 64-year-old was reaching into his cooler, the suspect reportedly knocked him unconscious. He told police when he came to, his cash and gold chain were gone. Now to an economic boost for the Valley Isle. Our Eddie Dowd has details about 2 events expected to bring a much-needed cash infusion to West Maui.
It's been 3 years since the Maui Invitational College Basketball Tournament was held at the Lahaina Civic Center. Thousands of visitors are expected for its start on Monday, along with a 3-day festival already underway touting local businesses. Dozens of vendors set up shop at the Royal Lahaina Resort and Bungalows, just a 6-minute drive from where the tournament will be held. The effort is being spearheaded by the Council for Native Hawaiian Advancement and Hawaii Tourism Authority, with the hope to maximize the potential economic boost from the tournament.
I wanted to reach out to more of the people that live in this area that hasn't gone to our store at Maui Mall Village.
Making sure that local businesses, local people benefit from these type of events.
There's 25 from Maui. 3 of them actually lost their businesses from the fire. So yeah, it's great that we can support them.
The island's tourism economy is still struggling more than a year after the fires. State data shows that in the first 2 weeks of November, the number of domestic travelers to Maui is up 16% compared to the same time a year ago, but that's still down about 7% when compared to 2019, before the pandemic.
It's not back to normal. As much as we would like that to be the case, it's actually been very hard to recover, and it still will be.
Cooper says West Maui hotels are still seeing the biggest slumps, but with the Maui Invitational returning to Lahaina, there's hope it will help end the year strong. The tournament is expected to bring in over 6,000 visitors with an economic impact of $24 million.
Hopefully it says that Maui as a whole is open and Lahaina is healing and welcomes back the world to come celebrate with it.
The Maui Invitational will go until Wednesday at the Lahaina Civic Center, with the Lahaina Festival ending on Tuesday. Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
Thank you, Eddie. The Menendez brothers, who are serving life sentences in prison for the murders of their parents more than 30 years ago, could be a step closer to freedom. Today, a California judge examined evidence of abuse the men claim they suffered at the hands of their father. Danya Backus has the latest from a courthouse in Los Angeles.
Eric and Lau Menendez, now 53 and 56 years old, are asking the court to consider new evidence of their father's alleged sexual abuse in a bid to be resentenced for their crime. The brothers were sentenced to life in prison without parole for the 1989 murders of Jose and Kitty Menendez. Prosecutors contended they did it for money. Their lawyer says new evidence of sex abuse by their father should allow them to go free. The sisters of Kitty and Jose Menendez testified on the brothers' behalf.
Both made impassioned pleased with the judge to send the brothers home, and like I said, very moving.
Outgoing LA District Attorney George Gascon recommended resentencing last month, saying they have demonstrated good behavior in prison and have worked on rehabilitation and redemption. With renewed interest in the case thanks to recent documentaries and social media, people flocked to the courthouse trying to snag one of 16 seats reserved for the general public for today's hearing. This man, a former classmate of Eric Menendez, waited in line since 4 a.m. for a chance to get into the courtroom.
These guys have done enough time for these crimes. It's time to let it go and let's heal.
But Kitty Menendez's 90-year-old brother, Milton Anderson, says the pair should stay in prison. In a statement, he said they shot their mother, Kitty, reloading to ensure her death. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Now to record-breaking predictions for Thanksgiving travel. People are already packing into airports across the country. Check out the lines at the Austin airport. AAA estimates nearly 80 million people will travel over Thanksgiving, and weather will be a factor if you're flying to parts of the mainland. Here at home, the State Transportation Department is reminding travelers to give themselves extra time, 90 minutes early for inter-island flights. Now, peak times at airports are between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m., and the busiest travel days this week are expected to be Wednesday and Sunday.
And happy Monday, everybody. We've got absolutely wonderful weather expected over the next couple of days. Right now outside, we're seeing variable winds around 6 miles per hour. Light winds are the story over the next couple of days as well, and temperatures in around the mid to low 80s. Let's take a look at what you need this week in our first alert checklist. We have shades and surfboards on our checklist. That's what you need. We've got some sunny skies out there possible over the next couple of days. You're not really going to need your umbrella. We've got drier weather forecasted over the next several days as well. Taking this hour by hour going into this evening, northeasterlies around 5 to 10 miles per hour are possible. Overall, lighter winds are expected. We'll get into the mid to low 70s as we're going into this evening. We're also tracking some high surf on north and west facing shores. A high surf advisory up for the north and west facing shores of Kauai, and an extra large swell is expected this weekend. I've got the details of my full forecast coming up.
Thank you, Drew. Wealthy nations are pledging hundreds of billions of dollars to help poorer countries deal with climate change, but the agreement is being slammed as too little, too late. Details ahead on This Is Now. Plus, we'll take you to the blessing of a new bikeway that connects Eva to Aiea. Welcome back. A special dedication ceremony was held today for a new bikeway in West Oahu, a project decades in the making. The Leeward Bikeway connects the existing West Lock Path and the Pearl Harbor Historic Trail to improve access for bicyclists and pedestrians. The Hawaii Bicycling League says this is long overdue.
This is an amazing opportunity for people walking, biking, rolling, to have a safe, affordable, sustainable way to get to connect their communities, to get where they're going, to have recreation. So we're excited to see this project come together.
There are also informational and historical signage along the bikeway. It's expected to be ready for use next year. It's that time of year when friends and family gather together to give thanks, share a meal, and enjoy each other's company. But what happens when that company stirs the pot at the dinner table instead of the one on the stove? Ivan Rodriguez has some tips on navigating tough conversations.
Every 4 years, Thanksgiving dinner is often served with the hot side of post-election emotions. And the mere mention of politics or social issues may be enough to turn a family feast into a family feud.
We oftentimes talk about there being a price of admission to having conversations. And one of the prices of admission is that you recognize that some self-regulation might be a part of that.
Etiquette expert Daniel Post-Senning of the Emily Post Institute advises building connections over shared experiences, from things like the weather and traffic to something that's happening around you. But if you do choose to wade into controversy, it's important to test the water first.
Get your etiquette antenna out. You might be very comfortable talking about politics, but there's no guarantee that that's the way other people are feeling or approaching those same topics.
It's also best to be cognizant of how those around you are feeling, according to psychologist Lynn Bufka.
I think it's really incumbent on those who feel that they won to really be as gracious as possible about that and as open as possible to their family members.
And to remember that your loved ones are imperfect people who you have long-standing relationships with.
They're not all good or all bad. They're just complicated people with different points of view.
But if the anxiety of a fraught feast has you angling for an excuse, Senning says it's bad form to back out.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
I'm Ivan Rodriguez reporting.
I'll give you the breakdown on our high surf advisory we have up, and large surf expected this weekend.
Now, First Alert weather.
with Drew Davis.
Well, happy Monday, everybody. We're going to see a wonderful week of weather across the entire state. We've got light winds and dry weather in the forecast over the next couple of days. We'll start to see the trade winds return by the time we get to around Thursday and Friday. They're expected to get even weaker by the time we go to Saturday and Sunday. I do want to talk about surf. We have a high surf advisory up on north and west facing shores. That's going to continue until 6 p.m. this evening. And we're also tracking another round of swells, one that's going to arrive midweek and a much larger one that is going to arrive by the time we get to Friday and Saturday. Again, that advisory isn't up for Oahu, but only for Kauai. Taking a look at the actual numbers for your surf and shoreline forecast, north-facing shores on the decline for Monday afternoon, around 8 to 12 feet out there. West-facing shores 6 to 8. We're also tracking box jellies out there in town, and east-facing shores are relatively steady, around 3 to 5 feet. Let's walk through your swell forecast. Here's the key again. Smaller colors are more blue and green. That's when we're seeing smaller surf. Another swell is going to arrive on north and west facing shores early Tuesday morning. This is around 10 a.m. That's for Kauai, and start to move across the rest of the state throughout early Wednesday morning. And this much larger swell that we're tracking is going to arrive this weekend. This one could be enough to get us to at least high surf advisory criteria on north and west facing shores, and potentially getting close to that high surf warning criteria as well. So large surf expected as we're going into this weekend. It's that time of year where we're starting to see those large country swells roll in. So we're going to be seeing a large surf coming in from the northwest over the next couple of days. Our box jellyfish forecast, high probability out there on Oahu south and west facing shores. Tuesday, a lower probability. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. There's still a chance out there, but they're going to be starting to move away from the beach. Taking a look at the overall weather pattern, earlier today we had a very weak cold front move across the state. It has completely fallen apart over Maui County, but we still could see some scattered showers out there, but the overall weather pattern is going to be dry, and this front is going to keep us having light winds throughout today, tomorrow, Wednesday. We'll start to see the trade return ever so slightly as we're getting into Thursday. Your first alert futurecast out there, really dry as we're going forward across the state this week. A couple of showers possible. The best chance for rainfall looks to be over the windward portions of the Big Island and over Maui as well. Your first alert 7-day forecast, beautiful weather expected over the next couple of days. A little bit of cloud cover out there, variable winds between 5 to 15 miles per hour. We're also expecting wonderful temperatures out there, highs in the mid 80s and your lows in the low 70s.
Thank you, Drew. The United Nations Climate Conference ended over the weekend with richer countries promising to raise their funding to record levels to help poorer countries fight climate change. But as Tina Kraus reports, the deal isn't going down well with the developing nations.
Climate negotiators struck a record deal Sunday, with wealthy nations pledging $300 billion a year by 2035 to help developing nations cope with the impacts of climate change.
This new finance goal is an insurance policy for humanity amid worsening climate impacts hitting every country.
The money will help poorer countries wean themselves off coal, oil, and gas, pay for damage caused by extreme weather, and adapt to future climate warming. But low-income nations are slamming the agreement as too little too late, arguing they're footing the bill for the costs of climate change, even though they did little to cause it.
This is an insult.
India opposes the adoption of this document.
The 2 weeks of talks in Azerbaijan involving nearly 200 nations were often bitter.
Comments, anyone?
With dozens of angry delegates temporarily storming out.
No country got everything they wanted, and we leave Baku with a mountain of work to do.
President Biden called the cash commitment a historic outcome and said nobody can reverse the clean energy revolution that's underway in the U.S. and around the world. President-elect Donald Trump has called climate change a hoax and says when he takes office, he will once again pull the U.S. out of the Paris Agreement, a global treaty to reduce planet-warming emissions. Tina Kraus, CBS News, London.
A pair of turkeys is pardoned by President Biden in an annual White House tradition that kicks off Thanksgiving week. We'll take you to our nation's capital in 2 minutes. to an annual tradition at our nation's capital.
2 turkeys from the Midwest traveled to Washington for a trip of a lifetime ahead of Thanksgiving Day. Peach and Blossom made the 16-hour trip to the White House, where they received a special presidential pardon from the commander-in-chief. The birds were raised on a farm in Northfield, Minnesota, but named after the Delaware state flower. President Biden commented on his time in office as he carried out the final turkey pardon of his presidency.
In the last 4 years, I've had the honor to continue that tradition by pardoning peanut butter and jelly, chocolate and chip, Liberty and Bell, and today, Peach and Blossom will join the free birds of the United States of America. Based on your temperament and commitment to being productive members of society, I hereby pardon Peach and Blossom.
That's right. Peach and Blossom will live out the rest of their lives at a farm in southern Minnesota to serve as educational ambassadors and inspire the next generation of agriculture students. Definitely one of the weirder Washington traditions.
I find this so fun.
Did you know that the turkeys spend the night in the Willard Suite? It's a very bougie hotel
I did not
next
know
door.
that.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
What if the turkeys had committed like horrible crimes
Right.
and now they're pardoned? They just get away with it.
You know, the holiday spirit. Thanks for watching, everybody. More news first at 4 right here on KHNL.